Baldur's Gate 3 is easy! So my guys and I went into honor mode with a bunch of difficulty mods on. We made some badly optimized characters, made them look dashing as hell, spawned some nightmare fuel, and got straight into it. There will be a full list of all the mods we're using for this playthrough in the description below. We do include mods that add a little bit of extra gear and loot to the game, but we're not going to be using anything overpowered for this playthrough. Also, we didn't activate all of the difficulty mods at once, mostly because I wasn't aware that you had to turn them on in-game. They'll all be on later in the video.
That is a lot more than usual. Okay, I see the issue.
This first encounter wasn't really that hard, even though the Echoes of Power mod brought back the first imp we managed to kill. Overall, the mods added some good spice, but the first encounter was always going to be easy. So, after being a loot goblin and being taunted by Lae'zel, we went to grab my favorite companion. Even though she's hard-coded to miss, clerics are just useful to have. We only had one fight so far, but the mod wasn't impressing us just because it didn't add any kind of variance to that first encounter. But for this second encounter, oh god. The Mind Flayer was already half dead by the end of the first turn, and the second Mind Flayer was just a complete dumbass. Really, the only saving grace we had so far was that since we had two clerics, we were able to make both the Zulks drop their weapons. Even though we rallied around the first Mind Flayer, things were just going downhill like a frickin' sled, man. Since we missed both opportunity attacks on basically a giant wearing nothing but a loincloth, we decided to make a not-so-tactical retreat. And it's a good thing we did, because if we didn't have a chance before, we didn't have a snowball's chance in hell once the encounter basically tripled in size. So we made like Kronk and pulled that lever, condemned hell to deal with a red dragon forever, and finally started exploring the Sword Coast for new encounters, which happened immediately. And even though our allies hit as hard as flaccid noodles, the encounter wasn't really that difficult. But it does appear that the Double Enemies mod does not double the enemies of the Extra Encounters mod, which honestly is a little disappointing. But you don't want to take any chances, so always have your defensive spells up, even if you're a little unsure. Which it turns out the Barbarian needed, because, as it happens, brains hate orcs.
Way up there. Fix that.
At this point, we were wondering if we should actually create our own difficulty mods, because we just weren't being challenged yet. We thought about grabbing Lae'zel, but after talking my way out of an ethnic cleansing because I don't support the Stormcloaks, we decided that we're not going to use companions for the rest of the run, which might have been a mistake because the next encounter humbled us. I tried being a hero and promptly got my ass beat about it. They offed Barf, or whatever his name is, immediately. And it turns out that Gobs hate orcs too. So much so that the bugbear ignored everyone else on the field and chucked a javelin at Bongo Booty Basher. They finished off the last of the mercs and Will. I got surrounded, and Bongo Booty Basher decides that he's playing Pokemon. We were just lucky that our ranger, Gene Greenleaf, was actually playing the game. We were getting an idea of how hard this game was probably going to end up being if we didn't have allies backing us up all the time like we have in the last several encounters. So after a quick level up and some loot goblinism, but I didn't get to enjoy my actual looting because Gene Greenleaf decided that he was the main character and went off to fight the bugbears near the astrologist, who died immediately.
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't matter that much to me, the loot's all the same anyways. I mean, I didn't get to enjoy that loot either, because the barbarian decided to run off and take on the ruins all by himself. Which, I mean, that's exactly what a barbarian would do in real life, so I suppose Bongo gets points for being in character. The encounter went easy, just like all the other encounters have been so far, so we were starting to get overconfident again, which is, I think, is exactly what these mods that we downloaded want you to do. They want to lull you into believing that you're actually good before they beat your butt like a bongo. So, after a long rest, because we were at a short rest, we went into the tomb, took care of the doormen, and assessed that the encounter was probably going to be easy. But our confidence was soaring a little too high, especially because Jean can shoot through doors. It felt like we were just playing Baldur's Gate 3 with extra steps, instead of it actually being any harder. Even after discovering that nobody liked orcs, Mr. Booty Basher scurried off like a wounded animal. We still didn't think these mods were putting up enough of a fight. Mr. Bongo drank all of the Ranger's health potions, snuck into the back room, and then proceeded to play Pokemon more. Our Ranger went down because our Barbarian is a thief, and it turns out he's not using throwing weapons because all he had in his inventory was a barrel of brains. I think when I realized that our Barbarian had more brains in his backpack than in his head is when things really started to go downhill. So we left Bongo to think about what he's done, and I could finally fulfill myself as a loot goblin. After enough time had passed, we decided to go save the Barbarian. Our Ranger used hit-and-run tactics, because he actually knows how to play the game, while I became a distraction, so he could sneak into the back and revive Bongo. Of course, no plan survives an encounter with the enemy, and the Echoes of Power mod triggered for the second time this fight. And apparently, elemental variants of Hellish Rebuke are pretty common when they revive. We were quickly reminded that BG3 Honor Mode is not actually an easy game, despite what I said at the beginning of this video, especially when Bongo thinks he's Ezio and can hide in plain sight. You can imagine how well that went. Jean managed to hide, and while they tased us to death, we finally started to realize that we were getting a little too confident and we needed to take these mods seriously. The only reason we were doing so well up until this point was because we've played through this game enough times that everything seems trivial until a wizard with a taser kills you. The Ranger got away so he could actually go back to the Grove and restock on supplies because the Barbarian had stolen all of them, and while we were planning on how the Ranger could save us, he reminded us that he's the main character that does big boy damage, and then he ran away like a little bitch. I always recommend having at least one sneaky character in your party for when things inevitably go south and he has to come save your ass. We were so close to beating this encounter on the first try, it's kind of frustrating. If we had just had a companion or a fourth friend, God forbid, we might have actually won. But now we were starting to realize how important it is to be prepared, unlike the regular game where you can just skate by without having to use any of the other tools Larian decided to give us in the game. Also, I think everyone does, but make sure you get withers. This encounter would have been more fun if there was more variety in the enemies. They all do the same thing. It would have also been nice if a third of the encounter wasn't circle jerking in Wither's Tomb. At this point, we were starting to get suspicious that the two mods that we downloaded were not triggering, that being Random Encounters and the Restless Dead mods. Though it's probably best that they didn't trigger because Bongo Booty Basher tried to lock me in a tomb. Luckily, Jean Greenleaf and Dom the Dashing are actually playing the game. We grabbed our favorite raisin and started off to the Blighted Village, which Bongo had apparently already been to. We have no idea when he had time to do this. He's been with us almost the entire time.
You want me on the roof?
Whatever. We were there, and it was time for Bash and Butts. The encounters were slowly getting harder as time went on. Who would have thought in a video game? But we didn't expect the game to actually break. I think the thing that saved me the most in this game is knowing when to cut and run. When you are no longer the one bashing butts, it's time for these nuts to get at. Bongo Booty Basher, of course, had to get creative in his escape. So, after reviving Jean Greenleaf, we decided it was time to take a moment to relax. Listen to the Secret soundtrack while we watched Jean open all the chests I'd been hoarding. Back to the actual game, we needed to reclaim our honor, And the only way to do that is murder. At this point, we were still riding high, as we've been able to overcome every encounter with our varied set of skills, but we knew that there was some really tough encounters coming up that we needed more tools for, mainly the windmill. So, taking our own advice, we decided that we're going to go get a tool we seldom ever use, that being the egg sac from the spider's nest. But we did not realize that there was going to be an extra encounter up here. Not only that, but it seems that for some reason, the mod double enemies, which clones enemies, actually worked for this encounter. I don't know why it worked for this one, not the others. But whatever.
Wow, that went far. But not liking your
But it was nothing we couldn't handle, and right here is the point where we made a pretty big mistake. Because in that last fight, we had figured out that we needed to enable the other mods through passives in our powers, which I really wish was in the description of the mods. Anyways, we had enabled those mods, and we're taking care of this very easy side encounter. Until it wasn't anymore. Oh, God.
Wow.
We had just spent all of our spells and abilities taking care of the last Gabes and those spiders. We put up a pretty good fight, but we didn't realize how important it was to take down those black holes.
Oh no! Oh no!
Especially when they started spawning more black holes. The Random Encounters mod had merged with the Duplicate Enemies mod, so instead of one portal spawning, we had to do with 2 at each time, along with double enemies spawning from each of those portals. Dom the Dashing was the first to go down, like the true martyr he is, with Gene Greenleaf right behind him, but Gene was also the first to get up.
What happens?
Echo of Power, you receive a +1 AC and saving throws, and increase in size. Echo of the Vanguards, you deal 1d10 force damage with all attacks. They finished me off while Bongo Booty Basher fled, and Gene Greenleaf also was going to flee, which would have been a good idea if they didn't immediately put him down. I didn't realize the portals were going to keep spawning at enemies after we died and Bongo had already left. Bongo managed to scrape together enough gold and steal enough to revive both me and Gene.
Oh god.
For some reason, Gene got to keep his bonuses, which is pretty cool, honestly. But while we were relaxing, we heard Bongo screaming for help over the comms and decided to investigate. We came to find that the spawned enemies were spreading throughout the level, all the way to Lae'zel's cage.
Oh no!
Oh my God.
Alex, what have you done?
It was so bad, it actually managed to crash the game. Here. By the teleporter. Oh my God, it crashed my game.
Well,
We started an apocalypse.
so we started an apocalypse, and the world got so overrun that the game crashed, so we had some technical difficulties, and now here we are again.
We had been placed at the time we took a long rest, because that's just where honor mode saved for us. We decided to re-enable those mods since we had full spell slots this time and all of our abilities, which was absolutely a terrible idea, but we were determined to beat it, damn it. So we made our way back to the spider encounter, which went about as well as the first time at first. But again, the portal spawned, but we were ready this time, damn it. We learned from our mistake, and we focused down the portals right away. I want to mention that I appreciate that the mod creator made it so the enemies freeze, so you don't get overrun and taken for a ride right away. So after a hard-fought battle,
That's fine.
ignores everything else and only attacks us. More portals spawned.
Hi.
I am not sure what triggers them to spawn. I really think it's random. So the longer the fight goes on, I think the more likely they are to spawn. But if you do get the random encounter spawn, make sure to focus down those portals, because even though we took them down, enough enemies spawn to make this a hard fight again. So after disrespecting Gene twice, back into regular combat, we noticed that the enemies were starting to fight each other.
Yeah.
Before more portals shut up. We decided to turn off all of our passives that spawned the enemies and try and take down the portals again.
I'll just lay here.
Which, as you just saw, the first one took no damage for some reason. Honestly, I think it just takes damage when it feels like it. And then our fifth mod, the Restless Dead, triggered. We had no idea what to do here because it was just a battle royale between the enemies at this point. We decided to try and bail since we felt like the game was starting to break again. There was no more portals for us to take down. We thought maybe if we could get away, it would stop spawning. But luck was not on our side because Gene went down right as the portal spawned on him.
Damn it!
Oh no!
Guys.
Bongo had no idea what to do, so he thought that by being in denial and playing more Pokemon, his insanity could save him. I tried to support him, but the game realized I was trying to run, and it made the skeletons throw themselves off the cliff at me. We were already out of spells and tried using items to save ourselves,
Don't worry about it.
but it just wasn't enough. Bongo tried to be a hero and save the day, but we were already falling down one by one.
Yeah, you can take anything.
In a tease of fate, Bongo Booty Basher did get rid of one,
Ash them booties. Ash them booties.
but the second one was just a little too strong. I wasn't able to do any damage to it. And with that failed roll, unfortunately, ended our run.
What is survival instinct?
Oh.
Oh god.
Well.
If you guys want to see more content like this where we punish ourselves in games, subscribe here, like the video, and I'll see y'all later. Cheers.